What's up, guys? Welcome. A few minutes away from starting, so everyone's joining in and rolling in. Thank you. This should be a fun one. We're going to be ultimately recapping the last 5-6 weeks that we've done on the 3 checkpoints and diving in even deeper. That not only the first 2 checkpoints is the qualification and disqualification side, but getting in deeper to ultimately how do you position yourself as the choice, right? The one and only choice, to where it makes it easy for the customer to make a decision. So we'll be starting here in a few minutes. Thank you guys for showing up, and we'll get rolling here shortly. Thanks. Here's the man of the hour, Mr. Bonnie, coming in with 2 minutes to spare. Impressive. See if my camera's lined up right. There we go. New world, new background, guys. There we go.
I was in here earlier.
Yeah, you weren't.
Yeah, you were.
There we go. Today recaps it, man. Not recaps the series, but definitely recaps the last
Process.
several
Sure.
sessions that we had. So that'd be a cool side.
Can you see me? Can you see
We
the
got it.
screen?
We got it.
Yahtzee.
Now we get to judge you on your slides capabilities.
There you go. Tell you what, I'm the worst there is.
Well, you've seen a few of mine, so don't be so sure. Life is full of failures, guys. It's how we recover from it, right? Or cover it. It's probably bad examples.
All right, let me get my chat set up here. Because I expect y'all to be atting us in the chat. Isn't that what you do? You at them and at them. Gotta at me. Don't at me. I don't know. I don't know what the kids say.
You're the chat expert, man. You're the one
I
that
know.
keeps that thing alive. I'm just zoned in, right? Like I know the slides, I know what we got to do, I know the value we got to bring.
Dude,
You're the multitasker here, not me, man.
I mean, people drop stuff in the chat and then they because when we respond, that it only allows us to respond directly to them. But
I tried at David. It's not working for me.
my level of excitement on when I reply, I mean, it's so high. I'm sure it's startling. The number of exclamation points and caps, all caps that I'm using there.
Totally. And that's some of the feedback we get, is that we love the chat and no reps left behind.
Yeah, no, it's like I had PTSD from the chat and no reps left behind. Tell that guy to calm down.
Keeps yelling at me. I don't know why he does that. Right?
Out. It's because I love you guys.
That's right. And no luck.
Your fault.
Always is. Always is.
Dude, it's 2:00 already. Time to go.
Could be 3, could be 1.
You're going to give them a grace period. What about our West Coasters? We got some West Coasters.
Yeah. Good morning, guys.
That's right. Right in the middle of their lunch.
That's right. Thank you for having lunch with us, West Coasters.
Yep.
Cool. Give 2 more minutes here. We'll get rolling and go from there. Anybody who's joining us, so I always say this. So I know Facebook, LinkedIn, anything else like that. We're obviously streaming if you guys are watching on that, whether it's live or post. I encourage you guys to go to norepsleftbehind.com. So it's literally exactly how it sounds, norepsleftbehind.com. You can sign up. That's what's going to get you access to ultimately Zoom is what we're hosting on right now. To where if you guys have questions or you want to interact inside real time or just be here live with us, right? Go ahead, join. It doesn't cost anything. Join in, put it in. You get the invites automatically sent to you, the reminders, all that kind of different fun stuff. But norepsleftbehind.com is what will take you directly to the sign up. So if you haven't done it, do it. The second thing I'll say, which I say each week, is upper left-hand side, you'll see the QR code. Take the camera of your phone, directly go over top of it, and that'll take you right to the Facebook group. So the Facebook group was basically put together to be able to create a Facebook group that doesn't have to basically see, hey, does anybody have labor for a job or whatever it is. It's sales professionals, right? It's sales and service professionals that are interested inside growing their education, growing their knowledge. We are streaming over there, so you can see it there as well. But get inside there. The one thing I'll say to everybody there is the group is only as good as the individuals that's there. I'll be the first one to say, yes, I do deny people from going in that group if they don't have background in our industry or specifically, let's just say inside service or sales. So share it, join. If you guys haven't joined, go ahead, scan the QR code. It'll get you in and I'll get you guys in. And again, it's as good as we make it. So don't be afraid to ask questions, be involved and yeah, get the most from the group that's there. That's why I put it together.
Love it.
The time?
I think it is 2:03.
All right. Welcome, y'all. Truly appreciate everybody joining us for what I think is the sixth one that we've done at this point right now. If no reps left behind. Each week we take one part of what I would call the framework to no reps left behind, the 4D sales process, and we break it apart. My name is Chad Westbrook. I'm the founder of Service Alignment. My background has been commercial roofing for just about since the beginning. With that being said, I have led some of the largest preventative maintenance contracts throughout the entire United States, well over $500 million inside sales. And when I say that, I'm not talking $1, $2, $3 million projects. I'm ultimately talking about $1, $2, $3,000 projects. Service is the incubator, right, to any capital re-roof, especially on the private negotiated side. Someone's roof is going to leak 100 times before it gets big enough that they're truly going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix it. So being on that front side, offering service and really being that trusted advisor that David and I always talk about is a huge part inside gaining those long-term relationships and being able to grow it into ultimately millions of dollars every year. So.
Come on now. There we go.
Oh, he's crazy. See, I told you he's going to be crazy. I've already done my intro, Dave. You're behind, bro.
See, come on now.
Keep up.
Guys, David, founder of 45. I've been in sales for, close to 20 years now and leadership for almost that much time. I've been a part of companies that have been backed by the largest venture capital firms in the world. One specifically had $1 billion valuation. When I had left, we started at 3 million when I got there. So I've seen the high pressure environments. I've been in the commercial roofing space for probably about 5-6 years now. And Chad and I have done a lot of work together, deep work with specific companies, and then broader work in the programs that we're running today. So the idea is how do we bring the cutting edge operational strategies and sales strategies that are being deployed in other industries? How do we bring them into the roofing industry? The ones that work specifically for this industry, and how do we make sure that they work for you guys so that you guys can create world-class results and world-class commission checks is ultimately what this thing is all about at the end of the day. So it's great to be here. Written a couple of books. A lot of the stuff we're teaching here today is coming from the last book and the work that Chad and I have done. So we're excited to dive in here. This stuff is tried and tested. Chad ran this stuff today, guys. So this is not theory, right? This stuff is being tested and used in the field daily, weekly, with all of the companies, with all of the reps that are in our programs and with us. So we're giving you the real tactical stuff here. None of it is fluff. It will straight get you guys results. So take notes.
There we go. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about the sales process, because what David and I ultimately are giving you guys is the framework, right, for what we have tried, tested, and what it takes to be successful, right? Definition of insanity is to do the same thing and expect a different result. When it comes to sales in general, I'll say one of the biggest areas of failure is follow-up or consistency or cadence, whatever word we want to use to be able to get there. So there are ways to be able to automate. So when we talk about make leads work, that's the lead side, right, of the service alignment program. We want to cultivate, right? We want to cultivate those leads. We want to automate them. And when I say automate, it means that we want to be able to have a systematic program or systematic process that allows us to be able to A, grow our business, but B, have that same follow-up, have that same process. I've shared something called the 21-day process or sales process, where it allows us to be able to understand what touches need to be happening with what customers. We do have the ability to automate. And that's a really cool thing that I've been working with some contractors, is to be able to automate follow-up. So once you guys deliver proposals, right, not every customer is going to ultimately deliver the proposal and they're not going to sign it right there. A lot of times there's follow-ups that's required. And there are things that you can do, such as Google reviews, all kinds of different things that you can automate based upon the status of the ticket or even where you're at. And that's something that I challenge you guys to look at, is to be able to say, where is your time best being spent? And if there are any ways to be able to automate that, that's part of what Make Leads Work does. Obviously, lead development, branding, marketing, all that stuff's on the front side. But there is a lot of cool stuff that you can do. So if you haven't checked it out, makeleadswork.com, just as it looks inside here. So makeleadswork.com. And there are a lot of cool things that you can do, both with email, text messaging, even on the lead development side, ringless voicemails, that can really help you cover more ground faster and quicker than it might be doing drops out inside the field or placing the phone calls yourself. So if you haven't checked it out, go ahead and check it out. There's a lot of cool stuff on the different types of, I'll say, personas you go after. And again, we can help you guys just raise that bar, raise that floor just a little bit, right, to be able to get closer to that bar. That's where we all win. So check it out, guys.
Yeah, and guys, one thing I'll just say on this is, and I'm not part of the Make Leads Work side of things that Chad's driving on. That's not my expertise by any stretch, but I mean, guys, just think about how this thing magnifies. And when we're going through the sales stuff with you, your ability to be able to increase results with the existing leads that you're generating here and create a high performing funnel. As soon as that happens, the ability to start to invest as a company into other lead sources. One, you have the profitability to do so, but two, you've got the confidence that now these lead programs will be able to generate leads and put them through a high performing and very viable sales process to make sure it's spitting out even better results. So many companies have a terrible sales process, Chad, and they just go invest in more leads. It's like, why are you putting more money in a machine that's producing low output? Right? It's like,
Yeah.
You're putting in all this high performing and this engine is not producing a high amount of horsepower. Nothing's going to change. So guys, these steps are hand in hand, and right, this is all a journey, but the level of results that you as an individual and your company can reach, there really is no limit to where we can drive this thing for you guys. I mean, it is literally just waiting for you guys to take the information that we're giving you and put it in place. And this thing will continue to grow at absurd levels. It's really fun.
It's 112 octane in a Kia, right?
That's right. Right.
What's it putting out? And I always get asked the question, and I know I'm going to side trail a little bit here, but this goes into it, right? Because ultimately the biggest impact that you guys can have on your funnel is at the top. It's not quoting more jobs, right? Because that creates more sludge within the pipeline, all that kind of different stuff. And I always get asked, what's the best lead source? And the best lead source is the one that works. It could be different in one city to another, one side of the US to the other. Whether if you're doing drops, right? If you're stopping by buildings and you're getting leads, opportunities, and you're qualifying them, right, correctly, as we talked about, the 4D side, then that's fabulous, right? If you're making cold calls, if you're sending cold emails, if you're using LinkedIn, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it works. So when we look at all of this, I mean, that's a huge part of what we do at Make Leads Work, is really put some justification of where are you guys investing time, energy, and money, right? Those are the three things we always say that we rarely can get more of, right? Time, never. We're only going to be able to make so many calls, so many drops, right? Send so many emails inside a day. So it looks like we're going to have to make better calls or make better drops or send better emails to better people or better qualified prospects. And that's where all of this kind of sits at the top of the funnel that can have the biggest impact, right? Because the more, the better, conversation, the better activities that you have is going to lead to more conversations, which will, again, just multiply as it makes its way down the funnel. So huge part to that, and great point, David. All right, cool. So I'll talk a little bit about this. We're going to do this on the front. So normally we leave this as the last slide. There's no cost for you guys to be here. So if you're here, thank you very much. The idea behind this is to be able to raise the floor of our industry, right? The one part that I always hate is going in and trying to speak to someone with integrity about what we're trying to do or help their business. And they got a shield up because they feel that they're being screwed over. Or they've been messed, someone's raked them over the coals last time and they don't want it to happen again. So they ultimately clam up and just say, no, just give me a proposal. Just give me a proposal. And they don't actually open up. That's the reason we're here. That's the reason we're doing this, is to be able to create a better industry, a better sales process. So my request to you guys is that you share this stuff. Again, you can find it we're on LinkedIn. It's on Facebook, right? We're in the Facebook group, all that kind of different stuff. But I ask that you guys share it. And the other part is I would love to be tagged inside some of this stuff. I would love to be able to create a conversation with the individuals that you're tagging, or just even the groups that you guys are sharing it with. Again, it doesn't cost you anything to be here. My request is that you take the information, you share it. We would love to be able to be tagged inside some of the stuff. And with that, we'll give you access to the 45 dashboard and access to all the kind of different stuff that we're showing. So that's my only request for you guys to be here. Spend 60 minutes with David and I. Obviously, 2 hours of our time we're investing into this webinar, right? This training program. And that's all I ask for you guys. 60 seconds for 60 minutes.
All right. So today, guys, we're going to go through the 4D sales process. And a lot of times, if there is any, there's some discovery done. Usually there's no diagnosis, but then you go right into demonstration in your proposal. And then very few people have a way to actually drive prospects to a healthy decision that's not high pressure and ruins the relationship, but also isn't super passive and allows them off the hook into maybe land, is what we call it. So we call it the 4Ds, guys. All 4 of these Ds have got to be a part of your sales process. If you're not discovering what the hell is going on, you're not doing it right. If you're not diagnosing and telling them what the real problem is, you're not doing it right. You're the expert, not them. Of course, we need to demonstrate, but we can only demonstrate our solution in context of the bigger problem that we've diagnosed. So if you guys aren't diagnosing, your demonstration is falling flat. And then from there, there should be a logical set of questions that drives them to a core decision. Because once you end up in maybe land, Chad says it all the time. As soon as you throw over the proposal, you've lost all power. Guys, you've literally subbed yourself out of the game. You have fouled out, and you are now on the sideline waiting for the outcome. Good job.
The coolest part about this is that, this week, right, I'm in the field, right? I'm working with a sales rep that's coming on board. And the coolest part is I did a meeting this morning, and I'd probably say within 15 minutes, we counted 7 questions, right? 7 questions that we went by. We went through, problem or goal, right? Then we went through what's the most sensitive. How do you buy something like this, right? And we've learned so much about it. And the coolest part was probably one of the last questions, because he's like, "You want to take a walk around?" Or you took a golf cart, actually. We went to all 4 buildings. I asked the question. I said, "Which one's the most sensitive to you?" And he answered everything that we needed. He's like, "Oh, probably the main building, because that's got all the people in it. We got the printers, the computers, all that kind of different stuff. That's definitely the one that we need the most attention on." And let me tell you something, this guy didn't have a problem or a goal. That was the coolest part of this whole thing. There was no problem or goal. We had the ability to be able to ultimately jump into the situation, right? Ask the right questions. And he told us everything. He wrote it himself. So that was the cool part of all of this, is when you tie that together.
Yeah. And that's the key, guys. Change your frame to a doctor visit. Stop dating. Stop trying to court your prospects. Start trying to be the authority figure that's going to go in there and help them solve their biggest problems and cure their pains and get them to the healthy state that they desire. If you do that, they are more than happy to answer your questions. But so often you guys are getting no answers or cagey answers or outright confrontation from some prospects that we hear on some of our reviews, because you're trying to court them. And then this question comes out of nowhere and they're like, "I know why you're asking this. I don't want to answer it. You're trying to use this information to manipulate me or do whatever." So we are our own worst enemy. They want to solve their problems. They want to eliminate their pain. If we just get on the same side of the table with them and ask them questions that show them we are there for them. We are buyer-centric, right? Wrote a whole freaking book about it, guys. We are buyer-centric. We are not seller-centric. They are not here to help us hit our quota. We are there to help them solve their roofing problems and their building issues. When we do that, they're more than happy to give us all the information that they need. And they will choose to work with somebody that wants to help them instead of all the other sales reps out there that are trying to use them to hit their goals. It's a huge distinction, guys, and it's right there for you. You just got to switch your frame. All right, so we go through discovery, we go through diagnosis and demonstration, all to lead to a decision, all to lead to the decision. The decision is what this is all about. Okay, and when we can drive them to a decision, we know that there are 3 checkpoints that we need to cross, and these are the 3 main checkpoints. Chad, you want to take us through these?
Absolutely. All right, so when we drive to a decision, the biggest thing that I'll take away from there is at that point, they are not choosing your company. Okay, that's very, very clear. When you drive them to a decision, all 3 of these ultimately should lean them, and we'll talk about checkpoint 3 right heavily today. But when they get to the point of making a decision, that means that they have made a decision that the problems are big enough that they need to act. That's number 1, right? That's what we have to figure out, number 1, because if the problem's not big enough to act, you can give them a proposal all day long, but it's not going to make a difference because there's no ROI to it. There's no return on investment. They're going to spend this money and get nothing, right? Checkpoint number 2, do they actually need new or outside help? And this is where you challenge the status quo to be able to say, well, if you have a roofer right now, why are you meeting with me? Right? Or if you fix this 5 or 6 times yourself, what's different about now? Why don't you just do it yourself again? It's okay to be able to disqualify those opportunities, because if you continue, again, time, energy, and money are the 3 things that we have, and we're continuing to invest them inside somebody that ultimately has done the repairs 5 times. The last 5 times they've done it their own, right? So if there's not enough to be able to justify why they're looking to be able to use an outside vendor or why they're looking to replace their current vendor, right? It's not big enough. They don't check the box. And just because they don't check the box doesn't mean that we don't proceed, but this is definitely a warning flag, right? If do they have a problem big enough to act? Number 1, do they actually need newer outside services? That's number 2. That gets us to the decision factor. The decision factor that they're actually going to award the job. This is huge. And this is what I see most commonly inside book of businesses is that we've all quoted jobs. The client has allowed us on their roof. The client has allowed us to be able to create an inspection report, but internally, at no point have they justified investing any money into the asset to be able to get something back, right? We always talk about those 4 ways to sell, right? You have a problem or a goal. That's the first question. Well, if they don't have either of those, we got to switch to education. Right? We're the expert here. So let's educate them about what they might not know. Very simple one that worked this morning is as soon as we get snow on that roof, the cost to be able to find the issues and make repairs go up drastically. Not only that, our success ratio goes down because now we're working in pools of water. Those are all real issues. And that's just an educational side for me, right? I'm not making anything up. It's all true. So problem, goal, education, and then we always stay away from the last one, fear, right? But the idea is that we want to get the client to a point that they're going to make a decision, because if they're not going to make a decision, why are we putting our time, energy, and effort in doing it? And checkbox 3, this is where we ultimately position ourselves as an expert, right? So do we have the best solution? Are we a general contractor saying that we fix absolutely everything? If it has to do with the roof, we can do it. And that's the same as saying you're going to a general practitioner to be able to get surgery on your knee. It doesn't happen, right? They're a general practitioner. They can take care of colds or something inside that nature, right? But when it comes to something that takes a specialist, they're going to refer you to somebody, and you have to be that specialist, especially if we're talking about purchases that are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, right? Not to mention the $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 proposals that get shelled out. No one wants to spend $500,000 with a general contractor unless they're doing some massive project, right? That truly takes different trades. We have to be able to make sure that we have the best solution. And that all connects into A, recapping all the discovery that we did, and then B, what we'll talk about today, which is that solution roadmap, that consistent way of being able to show this is how I can guarantee success based upon our past and based upon our records. And we'll dive into that today. But the one thing that I'll tell you guys, discover and disqualify. It's okay to disqualify someone. And if you don't go in with an open mind, right? Discovering what's going on, being inquisitive with your questions. You're not interrogating with these questions. You're inquisitive. You want to learn about their world, because in order for you to be on the same side of the table as them, you have to understand the variables, roadblocks, or walls that they're going to have to overcome, right? Because if you both want the same thing, you both want to be at the same finish line, don't sit there at the finish line with your hand out saying, hey, where's the proposal? No one wins at that point.
Yep. One thing I'll add to that, guys, is if you listen to what Chad said, do we have the best solution? Not do we have the best price? Not do we have the best local name? Usually they fall back on that stuff because we haven't run the 4D sales process and we haven't been able to align things this way and disqualify if they don't need to act, disqualify if they don't need new and outside help. And then we can actually have a conversation about these are the bigger problems. Here's the solution. And what we'll say on this, guys, is that when you can drive them to a decision because you can create clarity and they're not burning a bunch of calories, your time to close will go down. What happens when your time to close goes down? You get more sales in a year than you normally would. One, because they're going in faster. And instead of you spending time nursing these deals through over the finish line, you can start, they close, and you can go back to prospecting and generating more leads. So this has a compounding effect, guys. This stuff is insane in terms of the indirect impacts that it starts having on your overall productivity. And as we've said before, guys, all this stuff goes into the buyer's action plan, the 3 checkpoints with the progression pathways, the questions that you guys can ask from a repeated perspective, to be able to understand each one of these answers and really help your prospect understand these answers. That's probably most important, because if they can understand it, then they will take the action. And if they're meeting with you, it's probably a yes on all of these. Okay. All right. So checkpoint 1, we're going to go through a summary on each one of these. I'll do checkpoint 1, pass it over to Chad for checkpoint 2. And then he'll pass it back over. So we have equal time here. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. All right. So checkpoint 1, do they need to take action? Like we say all the time, guys, get in there, set the agenda. Don't be passive. Stop trying to be the guy or the gal that they want to get a beer with. Have some quick rapport building conversation and then stop wasting their time. Are you ready to hop in? Ready to get the meeting started? If you're meeting with me, there must be a problem that you're trying to solve or a goal that you're trying to achieve. Which is it? And you guys will be shocked at the quality of answers that you get when you start asking this upfront question. The other thing is you're going to be shocked by the consistency of the answers. So as you go through and you do this for an entire month or an entire quarter, you're going to start to see, oh, this guy's just like Jim. Oh, this guy's just like Drew. Oh, okay, I know where this is going. It just makes your life so much easier, and it gives you the ability to have responses and ask additional questions that show them that you've dealt with people like them before, which is what they want. They don't want to be the person that you've never helped before, because they don't know if they're then the guinea pig. They want the proof that you've helped people just like them before, because that's proof that you can get them where they want to go. Once you understand what their problem or goal is, then it's easy to understand who's responsible for that problem, who owns it. It's a logical next question. Who has the authority to solve it? Because if I'm missing information here, you're not going to get the right action plan, or we're not going to have the right conversation. You're going to be at a loss. You're not going to get the most out of this conversation, and I'm not going to be able to help you if I don't have if I'm not getting all the right information out of this. So this is the right next question. It's for them. We talk about it all the time. The WIFM. What's in it for me? What's in it for your prospect? Every single one of these questions that we're asking, guys, provides value for them. Okay. The problem or goal right at the top is why they're meeting with you. The decision makers ensures that this is a quality conversation so that they can get value from it. From there, what have you guys already tried to solve this, and why hasn't it worked up until this point? Right? You need to know this information so you don't go recommend something that they've already tried. Yeah, we've already had a roofer out. They tried XYZ and it didn't work. Good to know. Right? But it's also now the beginning of them understanding their existing resources are not adequate. And any hope or any optimism that they have and going back to that well is not going to serve them. What have you done and why hasn't it worked? We'll continue to detach them from their existing set of resources and their existing options, which opens the path and paves the way for a new solution, which is absolutely critical, because if they could have solved it, they would have solved it, but they haven't. And now the next logical question is, man, if this problem isn't solved, or like Chad loves to ask, if this problem isn't solved right the first time, what happens? And this is where we can get them talking about, well, we lose productivity, slip fall hazard, of some sort, or damaged product. Those are the three core set of answers that we want to be able to hear from them. They're like, nothing. Everything's going to be fine. Oh, really? No loss of productivity? What are your guys doing when it leaks? You're not pulling anybody off other jobs or other things that they should be doing? Have you guys ever had a slip fall hazard? Ooh, that's a great question. Because if they have, it triggers them. It takes them right back to that freaking fiasco that they go through when they have all that. Right? Damaged product. What does that cost? It allows you to get into that stuff, guys, so that you can ask these set of questions. And now, based on the worst thing that's going to happen, tell me more about that. Tell me, when you said this, what did you mean? You get down to that answer, then you can truly see and ask them, okay, well, then based on a scale of 10, based on that, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this to solve for you guys? And sometimes you'll get a super painful answer and they'll say a 7. And you'll go, oh, okay, I thought it was going to be higher. Why? Well, because we have this issue and these other things that are competing for budget right now. So if we can't quite get to this, if this is too expensive, we're not going to be able to allocate dollars to it. Great. I'm glad I know that, right? Or sometimes you don't get a painful answer and they're like, no, this is a 10. We got to get this figured out. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't think that this was that big of a problem. That's higher than I thought. Well, it's actually because of this, and that, right? So we end up getting there. We get to an answer that will allow them to get clear on their pain. And that's the truth to this, guys. We talk to our prospects and they are not clear on the pain. We are all actively avoiding the pain that we're going through. So as they're actively avoiding it, you now unpack it from their minds and hold it right in front of them and say, look, are you okay with this? Are you going to do something about this or not? And they're like, Jesus, I got to take care of this now. Holy crap. Right? Where if they would have talked to Joe down the street, they probably wouldn't have done anything because Joe's just an order taker. What do you need? What can I do for you? Okay, I'll sharpen my pencil. I'll try to get you the best price possible. When I'm coming in and saying, I'm going to help you figure out what this looks like. Is it something that you should be prioritizing? Because if not, it's okay. I'll move on. But when you do need to prioritize, just reach back out to me. Then we can have that conversation when it's right for you. Right? So all of this drives right to it. It takes the weight off of you, but these questions don't mindlessly and miraculously get you there, guys. You still have to run the play and score the points. Okay. You still need to put the ball in the basket. So every single one of you on here, we know some of you guys have tremendous soft skills. You guys need to leverage your soft skills to get to these answers. Ask these questions, but then use your soft skills to drill down, probe, dig deeper, and clarify what's actually going on here.
Yep, 100%. So on that last question, are they clear on the worst possible outcome if not solved? Let me be very clear. This is not having to pay another contractor. Okay.
Right.
That is not having to pay another contractor. That is a financial, right, burden to what it is. But what we're talking about is the actual disruption to the business, right? So David said it was damaged product, people, or safety, right? Those are the three primary things that it comes down to. But that's where you guys have to control the conversation, right? Because I guess if it doesn't work, we're just going to have to find another contractor to do it. Well, that doesn't solve the problem, because everything that you're looking to be able to spend the money on, right? Or whatever you're preventing, right? That's what it comes down to. So it's really important that when you go into these questions, that you're not afraid to probe. And I think the thing I always come to say, it's only awkward if you make it awkward. The 1 through 10 question is an amazing question. Now, if you're not used to asking it, sometimes it can be a hard question, right? Because it's like, I don't know, right? But if you ask the question and then you just be quiet and get the answer from it, it's absolutely phenomenal when you do get it, because that takes you into an entirely new way to be able to ultimately go into that discovery side.
Yeah. And frame it up, guys. God, Chad, I hate to make assumptions around stuff like this. So, maybe we can get objective with it. If you had to rate the priority of this on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of how important it is, 10 being the most important, 1 being least important, how would you rate this in terms of the priority it takes to solve? And bam, you're there, right? Like, just use your soft skills to be able to, don't just mindlessly go in. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this as a priority for you to solve? Like, people, what are you talking about? Leverage your skills, tee it up effectively, guys. And they're more than happy. If there's a reason for you to ask the question, which there is, assumptions are the biggest issue. You make an assumption that it's a priority for them, and it's not. 2 degrees of separation, like Chad always talks about. Then you get to the end of the deal and you don't know why you lost it. And you had it projected, right? It was in your hot list. Well, that's because you allowed an assumption to create a difference of opinion on what was actually going on.
Yep. 100%. All right,
All right.
checkbox number 2. Do they actually need new or outside help? Right. This is a major, I'll say, issue, specifically in the commercial roofing side, right? Because
Yeah.
anybody with a bucket of tar, right, can be a roofer. And especially, I've done a lot of work inside Texas. David, you talked about the last one about price, right? They're looking to be able to find the cheapest price. There's always going to be someone in the back of a pickup truck cheaper than you. I promise you that. There's always someone more desperate than you that will lower the price to be able to get the job. You don't have to sit inside that market. You don't have to accept that, right? Especially if you do a good job again going through the process. So first thing we have to do is make sure that we're aligned on the actual problems that need to be solved. Now, when I say actual problems, I'm not talking about the roof leak. We all see the stained ceiling tile, right? That's not the problem that we're solving. Why does that matter, right? And I say this almost in kind of a smart aleck way, and I say it in an inquisitive way, right? But like the ceiling tiles, but okay, can I ask why that matters? Well, because we just had all the ceiling tiles swapped out, and I just had a brand new roof put on, and now blah, 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 right? They'll tell you what it is. Just ask the question. Well, I'm afraid the ceiling tile is going to fall. I'm afraid that the water is going to get worse, and it's going to create a slip fall hazard. So again, we go back to those 3 primaries, which is a great place for you guys to be able to, let's say, navigate the conversation, right? If the ceiling tile was to collapse, what does that mean? I was literally sitting at lunch, right? And I asked him, I said, all right, take a look around this restaurant. What does it mean if they had a roof leak? Right. We started going through. It's like, well, it's sanitary. They have a bucket inside there. Then a table's closed down. Now they have a slip fall hazard, right? You don't have to say this. Now that was him and I talking, but the client should be saying this, just so you guys know. This is zero assumptions. You should not be looking at this saying what it is. You should be talking to your client because, again, they're buying this out of something that they need, not you. We know that you want to sell a proposal, right? But they're going to need your service to be able to give some type of ROI back to them. So if that's reducing slip fall hazard, if that's making sure that the dining room is open on Friday night when it's raining, or whatever the situation is, your client has to justify that, right? And this is one of the steps to getting to the point. Do they actually need to make a decision, right? We talked about that. This 4D process is about making a decision. So are we aligned on the actual problems that need to be solved? That's the first thing that we need to do, because if we don't understand the actual problems, right, we're already in that 2 degrees of separation, which means they're here to be able to fix a ceiling tile, right? Or they're here to be able to fix a slip fall inside the floor. We're here to be able to fix a roof leak. 2 completely different worlds. Got to make sure that we're aligned. Number 2, are the expected outcomes enough to fund a solution? So that means ultimately it's a simple question. How do you normally go about buying stuff like this, right? When there's roof leaks, do you have a budget, or do you just do you sign off on it? What does it look like? We got to make sure that we understand the monetary side of this. When we talk about the actual problems, right? So we already went through this. That's the stained ceiling tile falls on the floor as a slip hazard. Have you ever had to deal with a slip fall hazard before? I don't even know what something like that would cost. Right? Open the question up to be able to say, if you had to deal with something like this, right? If it had fell on these computers, right? And the computers were damaged, or it fell on somebody, right? And they had to go home for the day. I mean, that's all a monetary amount, whether it be the assets, the computers, right? Whether it be the hospital bills, I mean, whatever it might be. Again, I'm not putting anything inside the client's mouth. I'm asking these inquisitive questions to be able to figure out what is the bigger issue that we're dealing with, right? And is that issue big enough for your company to be able to spend money on it? I can't answer that question. I could, of course, assume, but assuming gets me nothing. Assuming is not a plan, right? Assuming is nothing more than hope. I have to be able to ask the question. So much like David said, all of these questions are a conversation that we need to have. So what are the bigger problems that we need to be solved? Do those problems justify does the solution, right, justify enough to be able to fund it? Right? Is the problem big enough that we're actually going to be able to fund the problem? Sorry.
Yeah. And this takes away the price sensitivity, guys. Remember, in a vacuum, this anchors them to a bigger number. So once they see your price, they're like, oh, wow, yeah, this is cheaper than I thought it was going to be. Great. The majority of your prospects today are most likely, right, if you're not executing this stuff, you get to the price and they're like, oh man, that's more than I was hoping we're going to have to spend on this. No, it's not about how much money you spend, because you're going to spend money either way, right? So desensitize price by doing this strategic stuff throughout the sales process. And by the time you get there, you will get a far different response from your prospects.
100%. And the key to that is monetary, guys. The key to that is monetary, right? It's not 5 hours to be able to move this, right? What if those guys didn't have to spend 5 hours moving that stuff and they were able to be able to keep doing their job, right? Or you didn't have to call and get a cleanup company to come up and be able to clean the rugs. Like all of that is monetary. They had to spend money to have someone come in. They had to spend money to have someone clean it up. They had to spend money to have someone swap out ceiling tiles. Right? You need to be able to monetize that, because that could be money that's being swept under the rugs that they're just seeing as a cost of failure. And at the end of the day, if they don't make the right decision, they're not just going to have to do it once, they're going to have to do it multiple times. Right? So again, we go back to, what are the bigger problems that need to be solved? Right? Are those problems justify, do the outcomes justify a fund, right? Enough to be able to fund the solution? And then finally, do they know what they're buying, right? Do they have an adequate budget to be able to create those outcomes? And that allows us to be able to be expert inside the room, to be able to understand the customer says they want a brand new roof, right? Typically a roof around this size is a couple $100,000. What does that buying process look like, right? How do you go about getting something like that approved? And when you ask the question in that manner, it allows the customer not to be able to put up a shield and be afraid of telling you, right, what their budget is, but it actually opens the door to where they actually talk through the hurdles, road bumps or roadblocks, bumps, whatever it is that they have to go through in order to be able to get it awarded. And that's a huge part of that trusted advisor side is, do you guys have an adequate, budget to be able to create these outcomes? You can ask those questions in a way that allow you to be able to be on the same side and say, okay, well, no, I have to be able to get 3 proposals. 3 proposals have to be taken to my boss. My boss has to take them to the board. Whatever it is, right? But it does allow you to be able to be that trusted advisor to be able to help him get by that, right? Or to know that he's getting 3 different bids. And then you can go into the whole question of, okay, why do you get 3 different bids? Mm-hmm. You can be inquisitive inside the situation at the same time understanding what their buying process is. Because whether it's a business, a corporation, they have 1 building to 30 buildings, everyone buys a little bit differently. And everyone also has different thresholds. So something small, you can say, yep, I'm the guy, I got to solve this. And yeah, I have a budget and this absolutely fits in it. I have a maintenance and repair budget. Let's just go ahead and, get a proposal for it. Or if it's not, he's going to explain what that process is. Yep. Then finally, do you guys have the internal resources to solve this? And this question ultimately goes 2 ways for me, because one, you're asking the question straightforward. Why are you, what do I have to do with this, right? It's roofing work. It sounds like you know exactly what the problem is, or we've at least figured it out. Why didn't you guys just do it yourself? Or if they have an existing contractor that's in place, why don't you use the contractor you have? Like, I don't understand, right? You have a roofing contractor. We've went through all of this different stuff. Why don't you use the contractor you already have? And when you ask this question, it's almost reverse psychology inside a way, because they're going to tell you why they're not looking at just giving the work to their existing contractor. I've been in many situations where they say, I need 3 bids, right? I need the project is so big, I need to get multiple bids for it. Okay. So is there anything that your existing vendor is not doing right now that you're looking to get from someone else? Or do you just need 2 additional bids to be able to award the project? Those are 2 different worlds, guys, right? Because if you're just the second and third bid to the primary who's going to get it, guys, red flag going up, right? Do you want to do all of this work just to be a second or third bid? And I'm not telling you don't bid it, right? Maybe there's opportunities where you can be in front of it, whatever it is. But this is the red flag we're talking about. If we ask the right questions up front, it allows us to be able to understand, okay, what's not working about your current vendor? Or if you've done this yourself into the past, why don't you guys just do it? Right? We're not allowed to go on the roof, or whatever the situation is. Again, the customer will tell you, take all of these questions that we're giving you, turn them into an inquisitive conversation. And by the end of this checkbox 2, you'll be sitting on the same side of the table as them. You'll understand, ultimately, you and him will be aligned on what the real problems are that you're solving. You'll understand if there is a budget, right, to be able to take care of this stuff. You'll understand what the buying process is of how he goes about it. And again, I'm not asking for dollars. I'm asking about how he's going to go ahead with getting a $250,000 roof replacement awarded to where he can write a PO. Right. And that goes right back into the first checkbox, right? Who are the decision makers, so on and so on. So all of these go together to create one ultimate fabulous, right, conversation. So This is where you eliminate the maybes, right? Do they actually need new or outside help? That's where you ask the question, why don't you just do this yourself? What's not working about the contractors you have? And they'll answer those questions. Should not be a maybe.
All right. Do we have the best solution, guys? Now we can actually come in and focus, right? Too often when we're delivering our proposal, what we don't realize is that our prospects are sitting there saying to themselves, man, do I really need to take action on this or not? I don't know. Do we really need to figure this out? They're not paying attention to us when they're asking themselves that question. Or they're asking the question of, oh man, can Bob handle this? Or can my existing roofing company just do this? Do I really need to get a new vendor involved? They're not paying attention. Once you isolate those two factors and say they have to take action, they absolutely do need a new vendor, you will get an increased level of focus in your presentations. Okay. And when you actually start meeting them from a buyer-centric perspective and stop going through your boring proposals, the proposal is necessary, but it's only a piece of this last process. Okay. When you're going through and you're demonstrating your results, we need to understand that what do they care about from a solution perspective? What matters to them? Okay. And the first thing that we want to take them through is, do we have a history of solving their problems? We went through this last week, so we don't necessarily need to belabor this, but guys, they care about whether or not we've done this before. Go on Amazon and look at where your eyes go right away. You're looking for 4+ stars, guys. You're looking for proven results. You want to make sure you're choosing a product that has a history of getting people to where they want to go. Services are no different. They are no freaking different. Just the majority e-commerce figured it out. Services companies haven't. We can, and we do. If you start doing this, you will get an increased level of confidence early on in your solution presentation. Okay. Now, once you understand the proven results side, you got to be able to present a clear solution. And it's got to connect the dots. The problems that I diagnosed will be solved this way. This is where they'll understand more complex solutions require more sophisticated service at a higher price. And again, it'll desensitize that their price expectations. They'll be ready for it. They'll be ready for whatever price you have because they know that bigger problems require more sophisticated solutions at a higher price. But you can't make them burn calories, guys. Get rid of all the jargon. We gave you the solution presentation format last week. Make it very simple. This is how we do it. This is how we do it right. This is how we do it fast. And then once we get through a clear solution, we want to take them into the future. Here's at a high level, here's our delivery and timelines and the value that you're going to receive and when you're going to receive it. This isn't a tactical Gantt chart that your technicians or your service department uses. No. This is a delivery and timeline for your customer to know when is the valuable work going to get done and when are they going to receive value and what is that value going to be? Okay. So we need to make sure that we're hitting on these things and that this will allow them to now see, do we have a past track record of doing it? Are they aligned on how we're going to solve the problem? And are they okay with the way that we're going to do it? And that drives them nicely into, do we have the best solution, yes or no, which is ultimately the decision phase or the confirmation close, which is the most important part, guys. We want to drive them to a decision, no maybes. Chad, you want to take us through?
Absolutely. So the confirmation close is absolutely necessary for a couple different reasons. Number one is that there can be a lot that changed in between when you first met with them, or let's just say when you did your checkbox 1, checkbox 2 kind of side, and where you're at right now. So before you deliver your proposal, you have to make sure that ultimately the rules haven't changed, right? All of a sudden you guys are going in providing, option 1, client or contractor number 2 came in and completely changed their mind and sold some big shiny thing. And now you're sitting in second place. A lot can change, right? So who's the primary, the options? I mean, they have Google and YouTube, right? Where they can start researching their own stuff. There's so much that can happen once you start getting into that educational side. So the first thing that we want to do when we sit down with them, and this is when we have the proposal, right? This is once we're going through and getting to the end of our sales process. Now, I have not delivered my proposal. Let's be super clear on that. Yep. Right. I'm coming in and I'm recapping what we spoke about. I know last time we spoke, you said that your priority level was a 9, right? With this being one of the major things that you guys need to take care of, which ultimately on this scale justifies it as a high priority. Is that still right? Are you still at a 9 or a 10 right now as far as the priority level of getting this done?
Confirming.
At that point, quiet. Don't fill the air, right? We need confirmation from our client that it's still the same, because if it's changed, that's okay. It's okay if something else has all of a sudden stepped in front of it, right? Oh no, I had a fire drill. We got this going on. It moved it around. That's okay, because that information allows us, again, to be able to positively forecast where this is coming at and align ourselves to the customer's priorities. Just because you getting this contract sold or signed by Friday is your priority doesn't mean it's theirs. So align this with them, right? Help them solve the problem on ultimately their time frame, but also make sure that they understand the impact of not solving the problem right now. That's the alignment side that we get to it. So the second one is the ability, right? So we just went through checkbox 2. Do you guys have the ability to take care of this, right? Do you have the ability to use your current contractor? If not, right, we're asking 1 through 10. Hey, what is, what is your guys' ability level to be able to take care of this, right? If they give you a 1, a 2, a 3, that's very low, right? They don't have any ability to be able to do it. But if they give you a number that's higher, right, that's not necessarily great, because now they do have the ability. And if you're delivering a proposal for sealant and fasteners, there is a risk that that job may never get awarded. And that's why we talk about everything we do, guys, is to be able to make sure that a decision needs to be made, right? A decision is going to be made. It's not just going to sit there and die on the vine. So last time we spoke, you said your ability level was like a 2. You had 0 abilities. You did not want to get on the roof. You're hiring a contractor to be able to do this. I know you say you didn't have anybody. Is that still the case right now? And then same thing, silence. It's okay if it's not. Now, we spoke to a couple different roofers, and it seems like we got some good options, right? Okay, now things have changed. The whole game has changed. I don't care how great your original meeting was or whatever the variables are, but if all of a sudden they have more ability to be able to take care of this than when you first met, that game changed. And you guys have to be able to adjust on the fly for that. So we're looking at priority level. We're looking at ability level. Is that still the same?
Now, and before we get to this, guys, one of the things I just want to point out to what Chad's going through here, this is a complete paradigm shift. The vast majority of sales process, sales training stuff that's out there, probably the stuff that you're doing, teaches you to say, okay, you ask for the business and they go, you know what? I don't really know if we're going to take action on this. We might wait till next year when we get some budget. And then they train you on how to overcome that objection. They train you on how to literally have a conversation with a prospect and say, hey, that's stupid. You should do what I want you to do. Good luck, guys. Good luck. It is so much more difficult to have that conversation. It creates resistance. It creates all kinds of problems. This methodology here, we're confirming information that we've already got. If anybody ever goes through the sales process at the end and says, yeah, we're going to wait till next quarter, I'd literally just say, oh, I'm confused. I thought we've already talked about this, that you said that this was a 10 priority and how to be solved very quickly. What's changed? What's different? And now we can actually engage in discussion. But me overcoming their objections, guys, I mean, man, I hate to be so crass, but maybe in the 1980s, that stuff worked, guys. When people were only drinking coffee if they were closers. Like, that stuff doesn't work anymore. Prospects are wise to this stuff. They don't want to deal with it. And that's why the majority of us get ghosted now, because they don't want to go through a process where they tell us why they're not going to buy, and then we badger them to overcome their objections. That should not be a part of your sales process. It's not a trusted advisor. In the commercial roofing space, when you're getting an account and you want to grow that account, how you sell them initially is going to be the foundation of your relationship. So the way Chad is doing this, we're confirming information we already got. That's why we call it the confirmation close. And it's such a critical part. Stop waiting for the objection to come up at the end and try to overcome it and get them to change their mind. Just establish this stuff up front. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox, but it's just such an important.
You're good. Don't deliver the proposal is what I'm telling you guys. Once you deliver the proposal, all of your power is gone. And I say that because never assume that you're never going to talk to that customer again, because now they have your proposal. They can choose to award it, not award it, give it to somebody else, produce it themselves. All of that power is out of your hands. And I say that because you have a solution that you can deliver, right? And that's what we're doing right now, is making sure that we're aligned, right? So that's where the confirmation close comes in. So it consists of 3 questions, okay? We went through priority, we went through ability. Both of those are the same. We know that nothing's changed inside the priority level of the project and their ability to be able to get it done. So I really only have 3 questions for you. So number 1, is everyone still aligned to the problems that need to be solved? And are you clear on how our solution specifically solves them? So I want to make sure that you completely understand, right? And that's the question that you ask. Is everyone still aligned to the problems that need to be solved? And are you clear on how our solution specifically solves them? That's a quiet point at that point right now, because if the customer does not answer confidently yes, don't deliver the proposal. Don't blast go. Don't collect $200, because we still need to go back in, because at this point, if they're not completely clear on what makes us unique, right, that's going to allow us to be commoditized. That's going to allow us to be compared to everybody else. And that's when you get into those 5 fatalities of timing, price, product fit, right? It's okay if the customer doesn't understand. There's tons of stuff that I text to David every single day and he doesn't understand, but we do realign to it, right? And we do make sure, whether that goes to a phone call, which most of the time I ignore from him, but if it does go to a phone call, we get aligned on it. He knows what I'm talking about. So question number 2, right? So it's question number 1, is everyone still aligned to the problems that need to be solved? And are you clear on how our solution specifically solves them, right? How our special sauce works. Are you clear on that?
Hey guys, and listen for that. Like, yeah, I think so. Oh no, you think? Well, like Chad said, right? Like, listen for the nuance of the words, because a yes is not always a yes. And they're very rarely going to tell you no on any of these. You're going to get a no in a different form, like Chad was saying. So read between the lines and stop. Don't be like, yes, I got a yes, move on. No, that doesn't sound confident. Let's pause right there.
Don't
And call
downplay.
it.
No, I was gonna say, don't downplay what your customer's buying, right? Because just because the proposal is $2,000 or $3,000, if you've been able to define $20,000 to $30,000 in damaged product, people, risk, whatever it is, right? That's what your customer's buying. So just because it's a $2,000 or $3,000 proposal and you're used to selling $200,000 or $300,000 proposals, don't downplay the impact, right? Because I've been in many situations where even the simplest service job, right, results inside the biggest headache because the milestones weren't correct, or all the variables that we're talking about is not correct, right? It could take you 5 years to be able to build it up, and we all know we can lose it in one job. So don't downplay, right? Do you understand specifically how our business solves this, right? On how our solution solves this? Question number 2, is everyone still aligned to the expected outcomes if the problems were to be solved? So the expected outcomes, right? Like, what is the outcome? We're protecting your employees. We're protecting the product, right? We're aligning all of this different stuff that we've already spoke about to make sure, are you guys still aligned to all of this? Are we all still on the same page that this needs to get done, right? And is the ROI sufficient? And the one thing that I'll always say, the ROI is not the cost of their proposal. The ROI is what the client gets when they resolve the issue. Because much like David said, if it's not 10x, right? Why are they going to spend? For someone to spend $200,000 on a brand new roof, sometimes it's astonishing to me, because if we don't even justify what the return on investment is, right? Whatever the damaged product is, people, so on and so on, how do they make that decision? Or if you had that alignment, how much quicker can your client make a decision if they had that? Right? So the question is very simple. Is everyone still aligned to the expected outcomes if we were to solve these problems? And is the ROI sufficient still? I just want to make sure that we're aligned. Yes, it is. All right, awesome. If you get any doubt of hesitation, guys, do not be afraid to ask questions or to continue to be inquisitive, because what you are doing is solving a problem for your customer. And trust me, if you get the contract and there is any type of void inside there that the customer thought, I thought you were going to do this, or I thought you were going to do that, that is not good. I think is the easiest thing to be able to say. Get all of those things out of the way. So again, look for that confidence inside there. And then number 3, are we the right solution to solve your current problems and create the desired outcomes, right? And if you don't want to use those exact words, that's okay, right? But it's worded like that very specifically, right? All right, so are you guys confident that we are the right solution to solve the problems that you have and create the desired outcomes? Just be quiet. Be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. Because even if they need a second to be able to process that, what you're asking is everything that we have done for you, all the priorities and the ability levels and all the different things that we've done. Do you feel that we're the right company to get you from where you currently are to where you want to be? Just that simple.
Not do you want to buy? Not do you want to sign the contract? It's a very direct question. It's the only thing that matters. Are we the right solution? And then you can talk about it. Most of the time, what you'll get is a yes, but.
Yep.
Yes, but we're getting multiple quotes, and I got, okay, let's talk about that. Yes, but I got to go talk to somebody. Yes, but we got to put it in front of the board. Okay, so what you're saying, and then confirm this stuff, guys. Okay, so Chad, so what you're saying is you're a yes. And if these other pieces align and they're the same way, then you guys are going to move forward. Don't dance around it. Don't be scared. Ask the question. Yes. Okay, when are you going to do that? And
remember that you're on the same side of the table,
guys.
Remember that you're on the same side of the table. You both are solving the same issue, right? And I think that's where the awkwardness comes from, is that you feel that you're like, okay, I'm going to ask this question. This question might be invasive or it might be challenging or something like that, but you're on the same side of the table. You want to be at the finish line when he's there, right? So if you don't ask this question, it's going to be even harder for him, because I would much rather my customer and I create the plan, right, to be able to get this as a partnership rather than him have him go to battle and then just bring me back an answer. Yeah, I went there. I talked to them and they said they like somebody else, right? And again, that goes back to question number one. Who else is involved in this? Right. And that's how all of this kind of flows together. Because if we get to that point and there is a board or someone else that's involved outside, we should have found that process out up front, which again allows you to be able to bring this confirmation to the right people, to the right decision makers. And it doesn't matter if they're a facility manager, if they're the CFO, or wherever they sit. This should allow them to be able to be confident in the decision that they're making, knowing that we're going to take them from their current reality to where they are right now to where they want to be. And they painted that whole picture themselves. We just asked the questions to be able to get them from A to B.
Yep. And then on this, guys, get the next action date. This is so critical. This is how you avoid the pitfall that Chad talked about. Okay, so when is the board of directors meeting? They'll meet on Friday. Okay, all right, well, how about we set up some time on Monday afternoon for a quick touch base so we can discuss. Get the time on the calendar. Guys, if they're not going to use you, they will cancel that meeting. But you will have confirmation. You will know by their actions. You won't be, well, I think they're, I don't know. I don't know what the board of directors, I don't know what they said. And you're sitting there hanging on a thread, right?
So I'll give a real world example.
When are you going to get those bids? Okay, then set up that time, guys, but have that next action and a date to talk to them again on the calendar. Not, I'm going to email you on Monday. No, we're going to talk at 2 p.m. on Monday. Is that right? Send the invite over. Have that invite on the freaking calendar. Sorry, go ahead, Chad.
No, and I'll end with this because you're absolutely right. So real world, that exact conversation almost happened, right? Where you say, yeah, well, I got some other board members, we got some other people to be involved. And the question was asked, how can I help you get this information passed? And the answer is so beautiful. He goes, I need you there. He's like, can you be there on Wednesday? And we're literally, right, the sales rep is literally going with his customer to be able to justify to the rest of the board members that he has on why this project needs to happen. I mean, it doesn't get much more of a trusted advisor than your client asking you to be able to come and speak on behalf of him on why the project needs to be awarded. Right? Like that's the trusted advisor side, is when you guys are coming up and you guys are fighting for the same outcome, right? You're both going to be at the finish line at the same time. You both win. That's the trusted advisor. That's where the confirmation close comes in, right? That's the reason for the whole 4D process, is be able to create the issue, right? Not create the issue. Sorry, that's the wrong word, but be able to help the customer define, are they going to make a decision? That's number one. Customer's not going to make a decision, guys. Sorry to say it, but you're never going to have a sale. That's my encouragement to you guys. Go through your book of business, figure out that first question, right? Is the problem big enough for them to act? If not, that's the reason it's sitting in quoted. That's the reason it's been sitting in quoted for the last 3 months. And that's the reason it'll forever be in quoted. until you guys either A, have that honest conversation and make the problem big enough for the customer, not make the problem, right, but justify how big the problem actually is, or B, you market dead. And the only thing you have to spend is time, energy, and money, guys. Use it wisely.
Awesome. All right.
All right,
60
guys.
seconds. Oh no.
Yeah. All right. Go kill it, guys. Please take this challenge, take it to heart, go through your book of business, go through those, right? We call it halftime, and we're going to do it here in a couple of weeks. Don't be afraid to go back in your book of business and to work through it. If you guys are joining in any other platform, right? So I know we do have some of our clients in here, which is absolutely fabulous. But ultimately, what we're doing is so much bigger than No Reps Left Behind. Ultimately, the Make Sales Work product as a whole is built for two different types of individuals. Number one is for sales leaders. That is ultimately called War Room. It is a service leader mastermind. So think about being able to come in and join in a mastermind with some of the best sales leaders in the United States and to be able to solve problems as a group. The second one I'm going to say is for busy owners, especially owners and businesses that are scaling up. You have all of your time into sales and operations, and you need someone to be able to help take your sales team, right, to the next level. That's where Rainmaker comes in. We create strategic sales plans for each one of your sales reps and go much deeper than what you see just within the 4D process to be able to make sure they don't only have their strategic plan, but they got the path to get there and the support and tools to be able to make it happen. Those are the two things that go well beyond what we do in No Reps Left Behind, but check it out. It's makesaleswork.com, just how it sounds. You'll find more about it on War Room and Rainmaker. David, anything you want to add as we close out, sir?
Nope, that's it.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good week. Go kill it.